Hey everyone, we are back again. And what I have here in front of me right now, some of you might recognize and some of you might not. But for those that don't, this is an Xbox 360 motherboard from the original, the first kind, not the slim ones that came out later. This one's the one that had the separate CPU and the GPU. And a little backstory on this board. A few years ago, I bought a lot on eBay that came with several broken consoles. There was 3 Dreamcasts, 2 of the original Xboxes, and there was 2 360s and a few other miscellaneous parts and stuff. The 2 360s, there was one that was the one that just had like that big long video output, big connector, and then there was this one that had that connector and it also had HDMI. I tried attempting this one first to practice on doing like a reflow, a reball, and all that stuff, but unfortunately, I ended up damaging the GPU. And I don't have the original GPU to tell you exactly what I did, and I don't really remember it. But at some point, I ended up getting another one on eBay, a replacement GPU, and I ended up damaging that one because I didn't bake it how you're supposed to remove moisture from inside the chip. I'll show you the chip later on because I still have that one. So a few days ago, I finally received another one that I got on eBay again after letting this sit for a few years. It's been at least a couple years, I think, that this has been sitting around kind of there in the back of my head, like, I'll get around to fixing it later, whatever. Well, that's going to be today. I have the board pretty much prepped and ready. I already cleaned everything off here. All the pads are clean. So unfortunately, while I was doing the cleaning of the pads, the solder wick that I was using was a little bit rough. It had really coarse strands of copper, and so it ended up damaging. Well, it didn't damage it, but it pulled up one of the pads right here where you kind of see that green dot right there. That second from the right there, that second pad ended up getting lifted and kind of pulled to the side. And what that little dot is actually a little dot of glass paint. I'm going to show a close-up here. I took a picture with my phone of a close-up, and you'll be able to see some scratches on the board as well that were from the solder wick. When I was kind of gliding it across, it would kind of catch and scratch the solder mask. So for those that might be curious, what this glass paint stuff that I used is, it's this Vitria 160 stuff. It's not meant to be like a solder mask or something, but I found that it actually works pretty well. It doesn't really burn off or anything easily. And I used it with a little bit of thinner because it's pretty thick stuff as is, and if you drop it on, like, say something, it'll stay as a blob. It doesn't flow very easily, and it'll stay kind of chunky. But if you thin it out a little bit, it makes this a little bit more easy to work with, and you can kind of spread it out before it starts to thicken up too much. And this stuff I got at one of the local craft stores. I mean, I'd probably look for some proper solder mask fluid or something, but this was just something I wanted to experiment with, and I've had it kind of sitting around, and it seems to work pretty well, so I kind of use it every now and then. I've found that this other stuff works fairly well, this NTE stuff. It's SW02-25. I'm sure there's other stuff you can use that's a lot better, but this is what I had at my local store, and this stuff has a lot finer threads to the on the copper, so it tends to glide a lot easier and smoother, and it doesn't catch like the stuff that I try to use on this did. I hope that I didn't really damage anything else. Everything else seems to be good, but we're going to reflow the new GPU onto here, and then we'll test it out and see if it works. If it works, then great. If not, I mean, I'm not like overly worried about it or anything. It's mostly to see if we can revive this thing. So like I mentioned earlier, I don't have the original GPU that was on this board. This was the second one that I replaced, or that I tried replacing it with. It popcorned pretty bad, so you can see how there's like sort of like some bubbling and stuff in like some of these areas. So what that is, it's a delamination of the layers on the substrate here, and that happens because like moisture gets caught up inside there, and then when you heat it to the temperatures that this stuff's supposed to reflow at, it expands and it makes like a popping sound. I heard this stuff go like like when it got to that temperature, and I guess that's why they call it popcorning. So yeah, this is the only one I've popcorned, thankfully. So that was a failure, and here is the new one that we're going to be replacing it with. You can see it's nice and shiny. It's got the balls already there. I had ordered it with the, they gave the option of unleaded balls or leaded balls. I ordered it with the leaded balls, so I'm hoping that's what they are. But I guess we'll find out once we hit the temperature that it's supposed to reflow at. It's supposedly a refurbished chip, but it actually looks like it's in really good condition. So I'm sure it is. When I originally got this, it looked like they had attempted to do some sort of repair on it before. And so I'm also hoping that they didn't damage anything. The other 360 that I got, the one that didn't have the HDMI output, that one actually ended up working out just fine. I reballed that one and everything. That was actually the second one that I tried doing that on, and it was a success. So I'm hoping that whoever tried doing a repair on this previously didn't damage it completely. And I got here a couple of other examples of GPUs that other people tried fixing. There's this one here, for example. It's also a little bit delaminated. You can see a bubble like right there in that area. And on the bottom here, what they tried to do on this one is I think they tried to clamp it down really hard, and it ended up damaging some of the pads, as you can see here, that are missing. So this was a total mess when I received it, and this one was basically unrepairable, and the board was damaged also. So this was a goner. We couldn't save this one, and you can see another bubble right here over on this side. And then here's one more from another broken 360 that I received, and this one was also unrepairable. They popcorned the chip pretty bad on that one. You can see quite a few bubbles on there, and on the other side there as well. So this was most likely done with a heat gun from the looks of it, from what I saw on the boards that these came from. So we're not going to do that today. We're going to try to use more proper equipment, even though it's just kind of budget stuff. So I'm going to try to set the camera at an angle where we can see if we can get the GPU when it reflows. It'll kind of like rise up a little bit and lower itself back down. I'm not going to go through the whole process because I already did another video where I went through like the whole reballing, reflowing process, and it's really drawn out. So I'm just going to try to jump into the last moments here when it's about to reflow. I'm going to get the board at the temperatures and everything, and we'll just try to get it from that point on, and then we'll do the testing. I think this is going to be about as close as I'm going to be able to safely get my camcorder to be able to get see if we can see some action once it starts. The balls start melting on the bottom of the GPU. If you might notice there, I purposely left the edge of the GPU slightly off from, it's not exactly lined up. You might be able to see right there on the left, it's the edge of the GPU is closer to that white line than it is over on the right. And I did that so that when it flows, we should be able to see the GPU get pulled into position properly. It's not enough that it should affect anything negatively, so it should be okay. And so right now we are almost at temperature here. Not quite reflow temperature, but I'm just getting these the board and the top temperature as close as I can to what they should be. So in this part of the video here, I was hoping it'd be a little more drastic, but unfortunately we can't really see the GPU move much at all. I mean, it does move, but it happens so slowly that you can't even really tell that anything happened. So I'm going to jump a few frames back and forth so you can see the difference between where I actually put the GPU and where it sat in the end. Once the solder flowed, we can see that it starts up quite like up a bit, and then it moves down. I think it doesn't help that the right side there was kind of fuzzy to begin with, but I mean, it does move. It's just it didn't happen how I wanted it to, and it's not as visible, so that's why I have to do this. But I think it should be fine. So we're just gonna let it cool off for a while here, and then I'll put the heat sinks on, and we'll give it a shot here, and hopefully everything went okay. When I went to pull the 360 board off of my heating plate, I found a bug. Not like a software or hardware bug. Well, I guess hardware. But anyways, this little bug came tumbling off the board and landed on the workbench here. I think this little guy got a little too close to the flames and he cooked. I didn't see it on there at all or anything, or while I was doing this, so at some point it must have landed on there. And yeah, the heat pretty much cooked them, so poor little guy. Okay, I believe I have pretty much everything here ready to give this a shot. I'm just going to be using like bare minimums. I got the clamps for the heat sinks. I got my two heat sinks up here. I already put some thermal grease on them, as well as on the GPU and the CPU. So there's the board ready to go. I'm going to try it with an HDMI cable first and see if we get anything. Unfortunately, I don't have a small enough TV that has HDMI input that I could test this on, but I do have it's a 1080p monitor with a DVI input. And if I plug in something with this HDMI to DVI adapter, they usually work. The only problem is that for some reason it defaults to 720 by 480. So it's not going to be running at like a 1080p or anything, but hopefully it should work. If not, then I got this other one of these, it's like a multi console cable here, and we'll be able to use the one for the 360 with just regular composite video, because I have a small enough monitor that'll support that. And then we got the front board here. This is the one with the LEDs and the power button and the receiver for the controllers. So let's put the heat sinks on board here. I hate this part. There we go. So that's the CPU. That's on, and I put it on sideways. Dang it. All right, well, it should work. I'll have to flop it around or flip it around if it ends up working out, but okay, anyways. All right, so there we go. They are on now, and let's plug in power. Now this next part here, I'm having to do a voiceover on as well, because I did not notice, or I completely forgot that I had turned off my mic while I was trying to get everything set up and ready. And here I go plugging in the DVI connector, and I was trying to do all this on camera so you can see that I'm not trying to pull a fast one here. So there's the cable running to the motherboard, the power connector. Plug that in. And here I'm going to lift it up slightly so that we can see the LEDs up in the front. And here I'm trying to find something to poke the button with, since it's inside of that plastic case and it's hard to get to with fingers. So here I got a Phillips screwdriver. I poke the button, the LED in the center comes on, starts flashing, so we're all good here, and then we got all 4 lights come on, and we can see that the LCD is showing the 360 logo there. So I wish I would have gotten this on video, or I mean that I wouldn't have forgotten to turn on my mic, because I was super excited that this actually worked. And here I was explaining that I totally had like I wasn't expecting this to work again. I mean, it had been sitting for years, and this board was in a box, and I didn't know if in the process of screwing up the previous GPU, if I had damaged anything else. But luckily, it doesn't seem like that was the case, and everything appears to be working fine. Now all I had to do was test it out with some games or something, but it's fully functional. It's working as is. I just had to put it all back together. Right after recording this whole section of me testing out the board, I realized that I hadn't turned on my stupid microphone. So you didn't get my reaction to the board turning on there, but it was actually pretty exciting to see, because I wasn't expecting this to work again, to be honest. I thought I had screwed it up since I'd been sitting for so long, and like I said, I ended up popcorning one of the GPUs. But it worked out in the end, and I'm just going to have to, I don't currently own any 360 games, so I'm going to have to maybe get 1 or 2 or something so I could put the drives on and be able to test it out. But I don't think that's going to be an issue, because, I mean, the whole point was that it just wouldn't turn on. It didn't work, and it had the red ring thing going on. So it turns on, and I think we're good now. So remember, if you like this kind of stuff, to thumbs up and subscribe. I know I haven't really done much in a while here, but I'm going to try to maybe make it a little bit more regular again. So I'm going to have some new stuff coming up. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.